We're off. Father, Mother God, creator of all that is, source spirit, thank you for bringing us together, giving us this great opportunity to teach, practice, and learn awakening dynamics. Thank you, and namaste. So what I had prepared for you guys today is I wanted to go a little more into one of the silly client tricks that I'm hoping y'all remember when you did level 2. We covered all the silly client tricks. And silly client trick number 1 is probably the one you're going to run into the most. Anybody remember what was silly client trick number 1? I'll tell you, but I want to give someone a chance to be a star pupil
Is
first.
that saying I
I
don't
don't know,
know?
Brent. I don't know.
That's number 2.
Oh,
You're close. What was that, John?
Said I don't know, Brent.
Nope, that's not it. It's abstractions. And so I wanted to, I was working with a client today, and what I saw was there's a certain balancing that goes on when we're looking to penetrate the abstractions. And that's kind of what I prepared for today. So the basic review of level 2 is that probably the most common silly client trick you run into is your clients will use really vague and abstract terms for things that mean nothing. And your job is to punch through the abstraction to find the real detail hiding underneath. Why is that? Well, primarily, you can spend all day and all night running around, pushing around abstractions in someone's head, but nothing's going to change in their life. Why? Life doesn't happen in the abstract. So as an example, a lot of people talk about fear of failure or fear of success. So those are great topics to start with from 30,000 feet to drill down. But if you just check on someone, I'm afraid of success, it says yes, and you clear it, are they going to make $1 million the next day? Are they going to see their business take off? Probably nothing's going to happen. Why? You're just pushing abstractions around in the head. Does that make sense? So worth doing, but on its own probably isn't going to accomplish anything. I don't think it'll move the needle. I don't think you'll see results. In order to see results, to make a shift, we need to drill through the abstraction to find the detail hiding underneath. So as an example, no one's really afraid of success, but they might be afraid of the financial responsibility that comes with it. That would be something much more real. Does that make sense? Or, they'll say, oh, if I get married, something bad might happen. Well, of course, right? Something bad is way too abstract. Now, I want to call out using the abstractions as part of your process to find the core is fine. I'm not saying avoid them. I'm just saying you're not done when you're there. Does that make sense? So it's great to start with something really abstract. Oh, I feel if I get married, something bad will happen. Well, having been married, I'd say, yeah, probably you'll never have sex again. That's high on that list, right? Bad things that happen when you get married. But we need to keep penetrating the abstraction till we found something real enough to work with. At the same time, you don't want to overdo it, because once you found something to work with, if you keep drilling down, getting more and more specific, you're just kind of spinning your wheels. So the guidelines I came up with was this, that when you are looking to work with someone, to find the right wording, the right level of abstraction, that there's really what I came up with 2 pretty simple criteria that we want to balance. Number 1 is if we're looking for especially a goal they're looking to achieve, a shift in their health, whatever it is. We want to take a desire and turn it into a goal. And this is something I read last couple of years that I really liked, that the difference between a vague desire or a goal is something very specific that can be clearly measured as being successful or not. So that I think is one criteria. So how are you going to know if you've had success if you have no clear criteria for measuring it? You can't. So we take the example of maybe your client says, I want my business to be more successful. Okay, that's something you'll probably work with a lot. but my business being more successful is way too abstract, isn't it? Doesn't mean anything. So we want to turn that into something that is at least somehow measurable or self-evident. At minimum, we need to know if we've succeeded. There shouldn't be any subjectivity as to whether you achieved your goal or not. So that's kind of one criteria. It needs to be specific enough to know if you've achieved it. And sometimes that's easy, right? If you want to get married, that's pretty clear, right? You're standing on the altar, there's a priest, there's a ring, a bunch of I do's, you throw rice, women cry, right? Yes, cool, there you go, right? For something like, I want my business to be more successful, that's a good starting point, but we need to turn that into something measurable. So you might say, you know, I want to make more money this year than I did last year. Okay, that could be measured pretty easily by looking at the books, right? If it's something more subjective, like I want to be happier, you can still turn that into a goal. You know, for just to throwing out there, just a random example, maybe your client wants to feel happier. You might have them journal their level of happiness from 1 to 10 every day for a month. And, you know, maybe it's a 3. So then you work with them until it gets to a 4 or a 5 or a 6. So we want to squeeze out the subjectiveness as much as we can, but understandably, certain topics or issues is harder than others. But it should be something that, as much as possible, can be measured, and it's clear to know if you've succeeded or not. If you can't do it, you probably need to drill down more. So that's criteria number 1. Criteria number 2 is this specific thing you find needs to be enough to move the needle for your client. So it's very easy to come up with something that's easily measured or obvious, but isn't really what they want. So as an example, if your client wants to make more money in their business, then making more money than last year doesn't fit that criteria for most people, because what would happen if you made 1 penny more this year than you did last year? You know, unless last year was an amazing year for you, that's not going to feel right. So that's kind of the criteria I came up with. Number 1, get specific enough that you at least know if you've succeeded, right? Sure. And number 2, it has to be specific in a way that actually meets the client's needs, gives them what they want. You do those 2, boom. Then you penetrated the abstraction, then you know exactly what you're working with. So again, in a made-up example, you might say that, okay, our goal is that your company will make 10% more money this year than last year. That would be, a lot of the time, that would be a good goal that fits both criteria. 1, it's something you can measure, you know if you got it or not, right? And number 2, it's something that, at least for most business owners, would make them happy. I'd be happy if I made 10% more money this year than last year. Of course. I'd feel that was worth the investment of time and money I put into this process, right? And of course, again, every person's different, but these are kind of your criteria that you want to meet. And if you can do that, you know, find something, then you can start digging. Then you can be off and running doing the work. Does that make sense? So pretty straightforward. I have been writing these up into documents, and hopefully in the next few days, just so you guys know, I lost almost a whole week to a horrible flu. So I'm playing a little bit of catch up, but I'm hoping to get these up on the VIP Club homepage in the next few days, so you guys have a nice archive. Any questions about this stuff? Okay, awesome. So we will turn off the recording.